Drop them now because we ready to go.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the Double M Show live in the crib, as always, during this pandemic time. I hope everyone is doing well. Mike, nice. How you feeling, boss?
Feeling good,
Yeah, that's my face on the screen like that.
I don't know why they got your face up there like that. Either way, I'm doing good. As best as I can right now. There's been different things going on that still bring some happiness, some smiles to my face, for sure. But I'm all right at this current time and moment. I'm feeling good.
And so, just another episode of Double M on a Wednesday. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to get through with y'all. Since the last time we came here, George Floyd has been he's raised a lot of eyes, a lot of eyebrows, a lot of awareness to the world since we spoke the last time. And the protests have been going on still to this day. There's still cities, countries, that are protesting for injustice that is going on in this world right now. There's been a lot of rallies. There's been a lot of, we spoke on it last week, the looting and people wanting to fight for change. And it's beautiful to see that this world is, constantly having this conversation go down everybody's throat. And, this movement feels a lot different than any other movement that's happened where, it could be a trend and you see it starting and, life happens and it phases away. There's something different about this movement that's happening right now. And you can feel it. And you can sense it, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. And here on Double M, we won't shy away from the conversation. We'll always talk about it. So, Mr. Mike Nice, man, what is on the playlist tonight?
So obviously, you just touched upon it a little bit. George Floyd, again, I say this all the time. It's sad that it came at the expense of his life. But the movement going on right now is massive. Not just the country is talking and moving. The world is talking and watching and moving. So that's huge. I think last week we talked about a little bit how the 4 police officers involved in his murder, were all in custody, taken into custody and arrested at the time. Just to kind of update that situation a little bit. Marv got me hip to the fact that one of the officers involved has been released on bail. So we'll dive into that a little bit more, for sure. Also, NASCAR. I'm not a big NASCAR fan. I'm not into NASCAR, cars racing around the track. I don't even play no racing video games, nothing like that. But NASCAR came out today and officially banned Confederate flags from any of their events, I believe, or something along those lines. Confederate flags have been banned from all NASCAR events. So, that's an interesting idea that they've decided to do that now. And not only that, we can go into a lot of other things in this country around that still somewhat represent the Confederate flag and that time period and whatnot. We can dive into that some more. Also, a video that's been circulating, I didn't get a chance to watch, but I definitely have seen it circulating as the police department, correct?
Yeah,
NYPD, came out with the video, I guess, kind of upset with the fact that police have been taking so much heat, in a sense. Something I know Marv can speak on it more. He's seen the video. I've not seen it. But the NYPD police department, came out and they have some beef with the way things are going on and how, I guess, them or police in general being portrayed during this time. So that's something else we'll definitely speak on for sure. And of course, like I keep saying over and over and over again, whatever y'all want to talk about, whether you're on IG, whether on YouTube, keep the comments coming in, keep the questions coming in. We open to everything, anything and everything. So yeah, that's what's on the menu. That's what's on the playlist tonight for sure.
So we're gonna kick it off with Thomas Lane. Thomas Lane is the name of the officer who was released today on bail after posting $750,000 bail. Thomas Lane, he's 37-year-old rookie. was freed shortly around 4:10 p.m. at the Hennepin County Jail. Sorry. Lane is one of the three charged with aiding and abetting second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter in connection of the death of Floyd. His attorney, Earl Gray, said the embattled rookie cop accepted bail with conditions that is currently back living with his wife. His next court date appearance is slated for June 29th, where Gray says his plans to file a motion to dismiss all charges. Lane's family members, they set up a fundraising page, maybe like a GoFundMe or something like that, for the ex-cop earlier, and that's where they were able to raise so much money up to it makes me sick, I'm coughing.
Damn. Yeah, it's no joke out here, man.
Up to $750,000. Oh, excuse me. So yeah, well, I get water, Mike.
I'll talk on it. Yeah, get some water. Let Marv recuperate here. Yeah, it's the way this justice system is set up, obviously. In situations sometimes, bail can be, people arrested can be up for bail. $750,000 is a lot of money. A lot of money. And the way I look at it is, if again, the system is interesting indeed, but if you have people involved in a murder, the fact that it can be, well, hey, let's just put money up so they can get out until their court date. Nah, it's interesting. Some people say, well, he wasn't the officer that had his knee down on George Floyd's neck. It wasn't him. He was just there. So he kind of had nothing to do with it. Well, nah, he played a part in it. Because I don't care if he wasn't the actual officer with the knee down on George Floyd. As an officer there, one of the four officers still present, as a murder is taking place in front of you in your vicinity, he had the option to do something. He had the power.
It was his job to do something.
he had the right, every power, all the right to do something to stop that murder from happening. His fellow cop, his brother in blue, or whatever they call each other, you had the right to turn to him and say, hey, get off of him. Like, we can contain him, whatever, but you don't have to be on him like that. He could have did something to stop that man from being murdered in the street. And the fact that police officer with a badge, everything, didn't stop another police officer with a badge from committing murder, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is wrong anywhere and everywhere. He should be held accountable. And I know there's some I'm not well deep into the justice system and how it works and whatnot, but there's definitely some situations where you're not getting out on bail if you commit some type of crime.
Right.
I know that for sure. I think all four police officers, until their court date comes and they have to stand trial, they should be behind bars and let the justice system, we hope and believe, will handle business from there. None of those guys should be home. None of these guys should have posted bail. There shouldn't be bail up for any of them. They should all be behind bars till their court date comes about and they can stand trial.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that he made bail when bail was available and an option for him. Having people donate money for this officer is not surprising here in America. Like, we understand that there's going to be people who are going to support, unfortunately, are going to support a sick act that happened to George Floyd. All four of those officers are murderers. All four of them are the reasons why George Floyd is dead to this day. Not one of them came up and tried to save the man's life, check his pulse, something. None of them did that. Thomas Lane is just a part of the issue.
Just as guilty.
And if you've seen the other side of the picture, of the other view of George Floyd, there was two officers on George Floyd's leg. Like, George Floyd didn't even have a way to wiggle out or anything like that. He was pinned down and choked on the pavement. It's a sick, disgusting act of murder. So the fact that Thomas Lane, due to the fact that, he wasn't the one who had his knee on Floyd's neck, was able to post bail is wrong. It's plain wrong. Yes, he's still gonna get charged. He has his next court date is on June 29th, I believe. Let me get that right information for you guys. Yes, June 29th is his next court date. But right now, Thomas Lane is with his wife, chilling, sipping some water, eating some dinner, while he just committed a murderous act, and that is wrong. And it's not up for debate. We've all seen it. It's on camera. This is not something where maybe he didn't know. It's on camera. We've seen it. There should be no reason why Thomas Lane right now is a free man chilling at his crib.
Yeah, it's a murderer, is free right now. A murderer is free. Again, don't tell me nothing about, he wasn't the one on George Floyd's neck. Nah, you right there with it. If somebody is there, and you just said the other picture of other officers, there's 4 officers involved. One dude was standing there telling the crowd to stay back. One had his knee on George Floyd's neck, and the other 2 were on his legs. They all played a part in it. They all should go down for murder. So the fact that he's out and about right now is sickening to think about. That he's a free man in a sense. Yes, he has a court day coming up soon on June 29th, but he's home. He's going to be in his own bed, eating his own food, relaxing in his own environment. That shouldn't be the case at all. The man is a murderer.
And this is the reason why we talk about the justice system and how there's no justice for when Black people get killed. This is the reason why. Breonna Taylor, 26-year-old woman, her birthday just passed, supposed to be 27, in her own home, going about her day, living her life in her house, gets killed by police officers because of mistaken identity. You know what those police officers are doing right now? Chilling.
And that's sick. That's sick to really think about, man.
They're chilling. They're chilling right now.
Yeah.
Breonna Taylor's murderers are out free because when you kill a Black person, male, female, children, it doesn't hold weight in the justice system. But they ask why we protest and why we continue to fight this fight. Yes, everyone recognizes George Floyd. Everyone recognized that George Floyd act was wrong. But that's not it. That is not it. That is not the only reason why we continue to fight while we fight. Do you not see what else is going on in this? There's countless of things that are continually going on in this world. How in the world can you justify Breonna Taylor's murders out and about, chilling, killing a woman for mistaken identity when they already had the woman that they were looking for in jail, in custody? It's disgusting. It is disgusting.
And police got to be held accountable. I think we've had this conversation the last show, the show before, about the whole police system needs to be reformed. A situation like that, and again, that Breonna Taylor situation, that's not the first time that's happened, where mistaken identity and a person ends up getting killed, or the police are trying to detain somebody who's unarmed or whatnot, and the police officer ends up killing somebody. But these police officers, sometimes no action comes against them. Maybe they get suspended with pay. Nah, that ain't it. That's being a police officer is a profession where there should be little to no F-ups. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there should be little to no F-ups. I seen something posted on Facebook. I think Chris Rock said it. There's jobs out there where you can't afford to F up. And police officer is one of them. Another job that's similar to that, a pilot of a plane. They can't afford to F up in the air. Their profession is a pilot, flying planes in the air, thousands and thousands of miles in the air. They can't afford to F up, because if they F up, people are dying. You know, if ands or buts about it. Yeah, that dude landed a plane in the Hudson River. For the most part, if a pilot F's up in the air, you putting lives at stake and in jeopardy and probably killing hundreds of people. Maybe more, depending on if the plane crashes and hits people in other places. You can't F up as a pilot. A police officer, you have little room. I feel like they should have little room to F up. And if they do, they got to pay a heavier consequence than just, well, okay, you can get suspended with pay. We'll see you back here at the end of the month, next month. Nah. It got to be little room of messing up with that job. I'm sorry, Mark. There's no reason why, as a police officer, you should go out and your first instinct in situations is to kill. When it comes out finally that this person didn't even have anything on them, didn't even really pose a threat to take you out or anybody else out. You can't afford to F up and make a mistake like that in that profession sometimes. I'm not saying everybody's perfect. Unfortunately, stuff happens, which sucks. But for the most part, it's happening too much, especially to black people who, some reason, pose a threat for these white police officers at times. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you good. I don't remember what I was gonna say, but you bring up a good point on accountability. There's no review boards or civilian boards where they can hold police accountable, and that's a huge issue. When we talk about we want change, that's something we need to start bringing up to police chiefs and meetings and mayors and things like that. Having a place where we can start holding these police officers accountable. I want to be able to see a list of how many times a police officer pulls over a person of color. What is that interaction like? I need data. We need to be able, civilians should be able to go up and look at data and start seeing what is going on in our neighborhoods and what's going on in our streets. We need to start revamping how you choose police officers to begin with. The process is not rigorous enough. It seems like they can let anyone and anybody become a police officer. Heard that the seventh step, after all these steps they go, the seventh step to become a police officer is their psychological test. That should be one of the first steps. You should go through that in the beginning, instead of going through 7 steps before they test your psychology. Like, no, the whole system is messed up.
Something's not working, man.
And we got to be able to go up there, and like I said, you bringing it up. Accountability is a huge thing. A lot of people during these protests, a lot of things that are coming out right now is defund the police, taking money away from the police stations and from the police and putting it into the education system. That's one thing that is an idea out there that should be really looked at. And we talk about voting. Everyone needs to vote, and voting is very important. I'm starting to see that that wave is really starting to pick up and people are starting to understand it. But now listening to your politicians and seeing what they say about these type of ideas is very, very important, and how we are going to be able to make that switch, make that wave of change, because what's happening right now cannot stay as it is. Even with the protests, even screaming what it is, we need to be able to go out and vote and put some new systems in board. Accountability, Mike, is one of the biggest.
Absolutely. That whole idea that you just brought up about possibly defunding police and putting it back into the education system, that's huge. That's huge, because kids growing up, I said this on other show, but again, like I've been saying, the conversation needs to continue. The message needs to be pushed. Kids being born, you're not born into this world already having hatred in your heart. You're not born coming out the womb saying, look, well, I hate black people. Well, I hate white people. You're not born like that. You go into a home environment and stuff like that is put into your head. But for the most part, very kids have the opportunity to go to school and learn, and that's where their mind really starts to get opened up to different things and ideas and thoughts, and you learn about different cultures and things that happen in history. And there's schools out there, due to lack of funding and different reasons, kids aren't getting the proper, education that they need. And we put in a lot of money's going into this police system where the system's screwed up. Whatever system's been in place for the last 20, 50, 100 years and going in to be a police officer, everything you just listed, something's not working. Point blank, period. The fact that we having conversations like this now, the fact that we've seen many situations where people are losing their lives because police are just effing up, something's not working. Now you put kids in education, you put money towards education, allowing kids, no matter an urban setting, a suburban setting, whatever. Education is key in helping mold these kids' minds, helping mold young minds into their perception of the world and things and people around them. That's a huge area that needs to be looked upon more, because that's huge. And the young kids growing up now, it's going to be interesting what the young kids now who are absorbing everything that's happening right now, especially how the world is responding to current situations now. It's going to be interesting where the young minds mindset are and where their mindset is at a couple of years from now, when they can really start to, process and speak and understand. It's going to be interesting to see.
It's going to be beautiful, because when we were younger, our generation, we didn't grow up seeing protests. We didn't grow up seeing marches and things of that nature. Like that wasn't part of our reality. Obviously, we knew about racism, things like, we knew about the marches back in the day.
Yeah, you learned about Martin Luther King and stuff. Yeah.
But we didn't grow up seeing, okay, our big brothers or the high schoolers or the college kids going out to do protests.
Exactly.
Like that. We didn't see that.
Yeah.
This generation of kids are able to see that, and that's going to mold them into being something far greater, possibly, than we can imagine. Dirk, on the former conversation, saying that, he's heard that becoming a cop is one of the easiest out of all countries in the world, in the U.S., and that goes into us saying that, learning about the structure of becoming a police and wiping that whole thing down and starting from scratch.
It's a must. It's a must.
And going back onto funding, I would like to, move the conversation along. We are in a pandemic, and we're in a crisis as well, financially in the U.S. And I just reading, doing some research here in Massachusetts, they lost $230 billion in funds, education wise. That's billions with a B. $230 billion in education funds. There's teachers right now, bracing to get laid off. Right now in Randolph Public Schools, they got rid of gym programs, art programs, music programs. This is scary.
Very.
This right here, what's going on in the world, is very scary. You're talking about trying to progress kids and trying to mold them into being something great, and you take away music, gym, art, things where kids find their futures in, find their talents in, find what they can become. It's not all about education. I mean, academics. It's not all about academics. And when you're taking that away from students, especially who aren't privileged to have access to that outside of school, this is a very, very scary time that some of these kids are going to be going through.
Yeah, I can't imagine school systems like it's really shocking to me that Randolph did that. Really shocking to me, because you said it right there. Programs like physical education, art, and music, students find their passion within that. Students go to gym class and learn, hey, well, I'm pretty damn good at basketball. They go to art class and, wow, I could really really draw. They go to music. Wow, I'm pretty damn good at the violin or the saxophone or something like that. And then aside from that, there's kids who are excel great in academics, but they have music, art, or PE where they can, release some anger or frustration and have that period, that class where they can, calm their nerves. If they're nervous about a test or something, you go to gym class, you play dodgeball, and you get that energy out. You go back to class, you say, okay, let me refocus. I'm calm. Like, to take that away from students is huge. I'm not even getting into me and PE, the health aspect of taking that away from kids and sports programs and whatnot. But I mean, you really cutting out a huge aspect of a child's life, removing those things from a school system. And again, you just said Randolph did. I really pray and hope that that's not a trend that's gonna start taking place anywhere else. Randolph may have their reasons. I'm not too sure exactly what it is, but I'm hoping that's not a trend that continues, across the country, because we'll see the effects of that. We will definitely see the effects of that.
And unfortunately, it's looking like it is a trend. I'm hoping it's not, but unfortunately, due to what is happening right now, it could be a trend. That Jarek said, they could be a possible major for the kids in college. Yeah, exactly what you're saying. Maybe someone wants to go into exercise science, or wants to become a music major, art major, things like that. These are all things that we are limiting kids. And I don't have the perfect answer, obviously, because no one's seen coronavirus happening. No one's seen any of this happening at all. And there's no perfect answer. It's just super unfortunate. Adults, obviously, they're going to be losing their jobs. And that's another conversation as well, because people will lose jobs because of this. But the kids, man, like, I can't even imagine not having an art class or a music class or a gym class. We all love gym, just to go out there, go to gym. But we're looking at a reality where some kids, honestly, may only be going to school Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, and Tuesday and Thursday might just be virtual. Or they're going to a class where before there was 20 students in a class, 25 students, there could only be 8 to 10 students in a class. They're going to be living in a whole different type of lifestyle than we lived, a whole new world than we were able to live. And that's kind of crazy, where kids really going to be going to school half the time and maybe other half will be virtual, because now it's proven that virtual learning can be done. Is it as effective? Obviously not, but it's been proven that it can be done. So that's how it could possibly be. Shout out to Kenny, man.
What's popping, Kenny? What's popping, Kenny? Yeah, man. I really pray and hope again that that's not the future of what school systems will look like, because it's not fair to a lot of people. It's not fair to the teachers who've grinded and put their hard work into, say, look, I want to go through college and gain my bachelor's and master's and go into education so I can be an art teacher, music teacher, physical education teacher. It takes away from them, and then it takes away from the students as well. It's
scary.
It's scary. It's not fair. It's scary, and I really do hope that's not a trend moving forward.
So speaking of sports, sports has been a major topic anytime you talk about, injustice, racial issues, it always ties in back to sports. And we see that NFL has always been a focal talk about injustice, because there's always been a division with NFL. If we go back into 2016 with Kaepernick taking a knee, and then we saw how the owners were messing with that. Some players were called it respecting the flag. Some players said, F that, we're gonna kneel for police brutality. And we saw the way that's happened. Obviously, due to George Floyd, we've been seeing a connection, right? We've been seeing more unity going on, and the players took it into their own hands to speak to the NFL and say, hey, we want change. We want change. We want things to happen now. Roger Goodell responded, apologized, talking about, hey, we were wrong about, sniffing our nose at the knee, and we understand now why you guys took a knee, and the knee is important for the injustice. We see all of that. One thing though, that, and I read, and I need I wish I remember the writer. That's really interesting about this whole thing is Patrick Mahomes, right? We spoke a little bit about Patrick Mahomes a couple weeks ago on this show, how he set out a message and it was more like a safe message.
Yep.
But then a week later, he comes out with this video talking about how Black lives really matter. This is the first time in NFL history that I can really remember that the face of the NFL is a black man. The face of the NFL is a black man. You go a couple years back, it's been Brady, Breeze, Peyton Manning. Years before that, Brett Favre. And you go before that, it's always been the white quarterback who's been the face of the NFL. You look at the NFL right now, Patrick Mahomes.
And then Lamar Jackson is probably number 2 right there. Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL. He's the face. It's undisputed. So when the face of the NFL now is coming out, yes, I know Michael Thomas, Ezekiel Elliott, and all these black superstars, but it's a little different when it's the quarterback and it's the face of the NFL. When he also comes out and says, this is important. It's Black Lives Matter. You guys need to step up. I think that changes the game more and puts a little more pressure on Goodell to do something. Derek says Mike Vick. Mike Vick was amazing, but I don't think he was ever the face of the NFL. He was for us, for black people, he was our guy. I mean, maybe you could make that argument. I don't think Mike Vick was ever the guy NFL was behind and saying this is our superstar that we're gonna push everything behind. I don't think Mike Vick was that guy yet. During that time, you had Peyton Manning winning MVPs.
Brady was still, at the top of his game. I mean, I guess maybe the argument could be made there for Vic because he was very successful during that time period. But just to kind of piggyback off of what you just said, and we definitely had this conversation in another podcast that we do. Sports is interesting because, most people love sports. And for the most part, sometimes when you watch a team or your favorite team or whatnot, you don't necessarily see color. You cheering for the team. This is my team. I'm going to cheer for them. I mean, I'm not saying that's every single person who watches sports, but for the most part, you don't give a damn who's on the team. I like so-and-so team. I hope they be successful and they get the best talent possible and win a championship.
Right.
Now, of course, there's people out there that are racist. I'd rather not have any black people on my team, or I'd rather not have any white people on my team. There's people that think like that, unfortunately. But for the most part, I think the majority of people, when they watch any sports, especially when it's a team sport, they just want their team to be successful. So when you have these athletes who people cheer for, can pretty much turn around into the camera and address issues bigger than the game, it speaks massive volumes. The face of the league, Patrick Mahomes. You got LeBron James, who's the face of the NBA, continuing to talk. Baseball, they trying to catch up with the times a little bit. Hockey too. The 4 major sports. Football, basketball has always been trying to be on top of the game in terms of things happening. Seems to me like football is finally taking the proper steps.
And with basketball, the face of the league's always been a black man.
And that is true.
So that's why they've always progressed.
Always, exactly. So I'm saying with these sports, the more people that of the more players in the sports. And now you're seeing more, especially in basketball for sure, and in football too. Coaches it's not just the players now speaking. Big time coaches are coming out and saying stuff. So when you have sports, this big entity in sports, in NFL and NBA, turning around into the camera and say, hey, look, I know I play this sport and make millions of dollars, but at the end of the day, I'm still a human being. And especially if I'm a black athlete, these issues that my people are facing, it's time to take a look at them and really make changes. It's huge. And the way it's evolving right now in this current situation says a lot. And I hope, like I said, basketball, the NBA has already been up there trying to, continue to be on top and speak on issues. Football looks like it's starting to turn the page and make that happen. hopefully baseball and hockey follow suit, because then some people say sports brings everybody together.
Yeah.
Sports brings everybody together, no matter your color, your race. Sports brings people together. So if these sports figures are taking more of a stand in what's happening, to me, it pushes the envelope that much more.
Derek brings up NASCAR. We're gonna definitely get into NASCAR in a bit too. Going back to what you were saying about the NFL speaking up and Roger Goodell issuing that apology. I'll tell you right now, that apology Goodell says bullshit to me until he apologizes to Kaepernick, uses Colin Kaepernick's name, apologizes to Kaepernick, and speaks to all 32 owners and says Colin Kaepernick needs to be in the NFL right now. Otherwise, the apology doesn't mean anything about the kneel. How do you apologize about kneeling and don't bring up Colin Kaepernick, the person who pushed that movement? You kicked him out the league. He got blackballed, and you made it seem like he's not part of the NFL. He was never part of the NFL anymore. Well, this is a man who led a team to a Super Bowl in his first stint. Now you want to apologize because obviously right now it's convenient. It's a convenient time. Everybody is on the wave of the Black Lives Matter. This is wrong. George Floyd was wrong. This shouldn't have happened. Cool. If you really want to show us that you on our side, you really feel like you guys are wrong on this issue, bring up Colin Kaepernick, apologize to him, and get him a job. That's simple.
Yeah. There's no way, to me, Goodell could make a statement like he did or even speak on it any further. If you can't be an owner or the commissioner and bring up kneeling and whatnot in the NFL if you don't bring up Colin Kaepernick, who started that whole movement. Nobody else was really kneeling. Nobody was kneeling in the NFL before Colin Kaepernick. So for you to 4 years later say, hey, the NFL were wrong is to take for kind of condemning kneeling during the national anthem, whatnot. You have to bring up who started it. It doesn't make sense not to bring up who started. It doesn't make sense.
What are you scared of?
Like you're saying it, Marv. Players have said it. It don't mean anything unless yes, Kaepernick getting signed by a team, okay, that's a huge movement that everybody would love to see. But as the commissioner, the head of the NFL, you have to put that first, branch out there. Extend that hand first by apologizing to the man. That speaks volumes.
It does.
A letter says, "Oh, we are wrong." Cool. But you would directly address somebody. Now you talking like you got some cojones.
Yeah.
When you can make a proper apology to the person who started the movement, and you see how was it shifted and transformed in 2020.
It's that simple. And shout out to the players, the NFL players, really trying to make a stand and talking to their employer and saying this is what we want, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take constant pressure, unfortunately, but it's going to take constant pressure from these players to let these owners know that, hey, we're not going to take your shit no more. We're not going to take it. We are human beings. You guys are going to have to hear us because you obviously don't live our lifestyle, and we're about to show you guys what we're about. And I love it. I'm all for it, man.
I see the comments rolling in. We're definitely going to talk about that NASCAR situation. What did we here say? Goodell can't rectify this easily. Goodell can rectify this easily. Contact Cap, admit you're wrong, and all of his apology will be hypocrisy and can't be validated. Yeah, big time. Marv just said that. I just said that. Again, players speaking out. McCourty, Malcolm Jenkins. People speaking out and saying how they feel, and that's what needs to continue to happen. I know years before players would speak up and say, hey, back in Kaepernick or whatnot, But it seems as back then, NFL kind of just brushed that to the side or whatever, not really shining light on. Seems to me, if we're going off just how the NFL seems to be heading, they're more open to these conversations. They're clearly down with admitting they're wrong or whatnot. That's just another step, apologizing publicly apologizing.
Yeah. And you have, like I said, it's very easy right now. It's very easy for the NFL to just say, hey guys, look, we were wrong. There's obviously George Floyd happened. We finally see it. You guys were right. There's injustice in the world. We were. It's so easy to do that. Be the real change.
Yeah.
Be the real change and say, we were wrong. We weren't listening to you guys for the past 400 years when black people have been trying to say there's so much injustice in the world. There's so much police brutality. We kept ignoring you guys. We kept pushing you guys under the rug. We didn't believe it. We were wrong about that. Colin Kaepernick, what he did about the kneeling, he was justifiably right, and she should have never been out the league. He was blackballed, and we were wrong for that. We're going to make sure he gets, excuse me, we're going to make sure he gets the proper chance to make any 32 teams in the NFL. I'm going to make that my duty. Roger Goodell. Think about that statement right there.
Hey, it's big
time. He does that statement right there. That changes everything.
It's big time. Big time indeed if you can make that step. I tell you, one commissioner I don't see having a problem doing anything like that, and that's Adam Silver. I don't see Adam Silver having a problem if the situation was reversed. That's just my opinion anyways. I see Derek's comment. Let's answer this question, and then we can kind of shift gears a little bit. Do we think Kaepernick will get signed now?
I have no idea.
Here's
no clue.
I do think, and this is just unfortunate, there's a lot of owners in the NFL who are still rich, older white men who probably have similar mindsets to what Drew Brees said. There's people out there in the world who still pissed at Kaepernick knees.
People, there's a lot of people.
Don't matter how many conversations come out about he's not doing it in disrespect to the anthem or flag. It has nothing to do with that. There's people who still believe Kaepernick is wrong. Are some of those people who think that, owners and general managers in the NFL? I do believe so. So I'm still on the fence. Do I think, now that this all happened, he's going to get signed tomorrow? Like, I really still don't know. I don't know if this necessarily changes it. Do I think maybe he's not blackballed to the extent that he was before? Maybe a little bit. But again, it's really on Goodell coming out and making a firm, solid statement or apology using Kaepernick's name that then I'll really say, okay, maybe the NFL is kind of shifting their thoughts and ideas. Well, at least Roger Goodell has taken that strip away from calling Kaepernick in the NFL and not having any connection at all. Maybe that's when my mindset will start to change.
So Derek said, I don't think Goodell could force a GM to sign.
No, he can't.
He can't force him, but he can do everything the right way. Everything I just said, and just remember that bullshit tryout he did last year. How about doing an official one for him? Do an official one with him, with all teams. You put him out there and say, we want Kaepernick back in the league. We're going to give him a fair shake to have him try out with any team he'd like.
And then there's been them little stupid reports the last couple of years of, teams are thinking about it. A couple coaches come out and say, I do think that, Kaepernick deserves to be. A coach or something will say it, but then nothing will ever come from it. So I'm sick of all of that. If you're a coach and you have in your mind, or you're a team owner, you have in your mind, maybe I think he can possibly play, but they choose to go in a different direction. That's usually how it unfolds. Hopefully, there's no more that BS, and especially with the season hasn't even started yet, and you still have time to bring players in for training camp and whatnot and see what they got. It's now. It's go time right now. It's go time.
What up, Malcolm? We said it's so easy at this point. Only pride would be it's laid out for the NFL. It is laid out for the NFL to do the right thing right now. Yeah. It's laid out for them. Now the question is, will they take the bait?
We'll see, man. We'll see. But let's switch gears a little bit. I know Dirk brought this up. This is a topic that we definitely wanted to get into. NASCAR. NASCAR has come out today, and today is June 10th. The year is 2020, and they come out with a statement saying today that Confederate flags are no longer allowed at any of their events. Confederate flags are officially banned from any and all NASCAR events moving forward.
Like it's so sad. This shit is it's so sad.
Yeah.
That in 2020, NASCAR has finally come out and said, you know what, guys? Maybe we shouldn't have a Confederate flag, represent the NASCAR Federation. Like, maybe that's not the move right now. How in the world in 2020, a National League race car sport, a Confederate flag was okay? And this is not something that just got brought up. People have been trying to ban the Confederate flag in NASCAR for years. For years. 5 years ago, they weren't hearing it. But like I said, right now with the NFL going forward, it is so easy right now to, quote unquote, shout out to Spike Lee, do the right thing. It's so easy to do the right thing right now and say, oh, okay, black folks, we finally hear you. That George Floyd thing, yeah, that was something. Well, here's a Black Lives Matter post. Oh, we'll get rid of the Confederate flag. It's crazy to me that in 2020, the Confederate flag, something that we all know what it means and what it stands for, is finally getting removed.
In all honesty, to me, NASCAR, kudos to you, whatever, but it's a big issue at hand. Screw NASCAR. They got rid of the flag, whatever. Great, cool. Again, kudos to y'all. The fact that there's still places in this country where things like the Confederate flag, and then you got schools that still have like buildings and stuff named after, Confederate generals and stuff like that. You have, I saw on Twitter somewhere, someone posted a picture of somewhere in the South, old slave trading post that still stands today, just because it represents history.
Oh yeah.
Of the fact, so again, NASCAR doing their thing, cool, fine, whatever. But the fact that things like the Confederate flag and things like old slave trading posts, and then you got monuments of old Confederate generals, and again, schools would still got Confederate name, and I think it was Clemson. DeAndre Hopkins says he don't say Clemson's name because I don't know, something about Clemson still uses the name of a Confederate, general or something like that. The fact that alone still exists in this country in 2020 is mind-boggling to me. There should be no reason. I don't care. History, what's history? I don't give a damn. There should be no kind of slave trading post as a monument in this country, knowing that the amount of people who live in this country and take that as offensive, and that's still standing. And you wonder why people want to kneel during the flag and stuff. Again, I always say, don't get me into the words of the national anthem and when it was written and all of that, because let's go back to when the national anthem was written and who was it written for. That's a whole different conversation. But things like the Confederate flag still flying in the air in certain places and different monuments still being up representing stuff, bullshit. It's bigger than NASCAR. NASCAR, again, about time you did that. Should have been done years ago. But there's places in this country who still rep that stuff and use it being a part of the country's history as a way to keep it up. And they just chop off Christopher Columbus's head somewhere in Boston. Come on now. I don't give a damn what's history. If something's wrong, why is it still up? If something's offensive and we try to preach in this country,
you just put it in the head. You just said if something's wrong. In the South, they don't believe it's wrong, Mike.
What kind of country you living in, man?
They don't believe it's like, you have to understand. Our history books are a lot different than their history books.
And that's a problem. That's a problem.
When I say I mean the history we learned up here in the North in Boston about the Civil War is a lot different than how they learned it down in the South. You think people in the South are learning about how they were bad? Yeah, here growing up in the South, we weren't too good. We were very, very racist, more racist than no. They're not learning it like that. So it's totally a different type of learning, and they want to consider the Confederate flag as pride. They're just letting us know how they are, the racism and what they believe in. They're proud of it. I'm always the one. I'd rather you show me who you are. I'd rather you show me who you are than conceal it. You want to wave that Confederate flag? You just that I like to see my red signs already before me. Malcolm bringing up, how you said like the Columbus statue in Massachusetts beheaded, and I was seeing on Twitter people like, hey man, there's one in New York. If you guys want to behead it, here's the location. This, that, and the fort.
Yo, 2020 gonna go down in the books, bro.
Oh yeah.
2020 is going to go down in the books
2020
for many reasons.
Our kids' history books is gonna have a whole thick ass 50-page chapter, maybe multiple chapters on what 2020 was like.
Like, there really needs to be a movement. And obviously the president ain't gonna be the one to start this movement, but you would think that a country under one whole, common law, 50 states under one title of the United States of America. And you got people down in the South who are born and raised and still believing that this country don't have two flags. I mean, have one flag. It's two flags.
Yeah.
There's two flags. There's people that believe there's two flags for this country. There's the red, white, and blue, 50 stars and stripes, whatever. And then there's the Confederate flag. Like, there's people who are in that mindset. And it goes back to what we said before about kids being brought up and born and raised in a mindset. You can't tell me, kids who are in college right now who will put up a Confederate flag in their dorm window or something. Where they learn that from? Where they get it from? That's what they're born into and they're taught. They got to be some kind of snag and hit in that curve somewhere, where that kind of mentality being brought in that gets cut off. There's no 20, 18, 19, 20-year-old who's in college marching around to Confederate flag. You got some kicker that the Patriots just drafted getting, stuff tattooed on him. Yep. Like, how old is he? Where he learn that from? Where would he get that mindset from? Kids are brought up with these different mentalities. That curve got to be cut off and shut off somewhere.
And it's crazy because the Confederate flag representing a part of the country that wanted to detach from the rest of America, literally traitors. But people get mad when Cap kneels. I'll never get it.
Derek.
And it goes back to, I hate harping back to just how insensitive, how stupid, how dumb Drew Brees' comments were when he talked about his grandparents fighting for the flag. Like, think about the Civil War, and you have the nerve.
Yo, what you said about 2 weeks ago, last show, was the craziest thing that was so true. Black people in a war, civil war, fighting two damn wars. Two wars. If you black in the Civil War, you literally in two battles. Because you need to hold a gun, and you don't know if you need to shoot at the person next to you, the person in front of you. Opposition. Like, you don't know where to shoot because you hated either way. You hated because you on one side of the war, and you hated because you on one side of the war next to somebody else who don't like you. Wild.
So I think the Confederate flag is more disrespectful than kneeling during the national. Absolutely.
That's not even a question.
But they won't hear that, bro. They won't hear that. I never heard about the American flag and the American flag and the Army being simultaneous till 2016. Now, all of a sudden, when you kneel on the national anthem, you're just disrespecting the Army and people's grandfathers. And my father fought for the war. Like, when you have to be some type of stupid to just try to to disengage from what's really happening in the world and try to bring it into a militistic thing, or try to say you're unpatriotic. No, stop that shit. Police brutality is unpatriotic. Killing people who built this land is unpatriotic. That doesn't make sense to me.
Sure does not. Sure does not indeed, man. So, kind of to bring it back to the beginning with NASCAR making the move to get rid of the Confederate flag from their events. Like I'm saying, I hope that's a movement that's even bigger than just NASCAR making it happen. It's hopeful, wishful thinking, because, like I said, there's many places in this country, especially unfortunately in the South, where things like the Confederate flag or statues of Confederate leaders, or I think Derek said the John Calhoun was possibly a slave owner and his name is somehow attached to Clemson. Things like that got to start shifting. Didn't Boston? I think it was it Yawkey Way? I think Yawkey Way. If it wasn't Yawkey Way, it was another way. But that street, whatever that they renamed after David Ortiz, I believe, was originally the name of a slave owner or something like that. My facts and information could be wrong. If anybody watching right now knows what I'm talking about, let me know. But something along those lines, things like that got to start changing.
ASAP. It shouldn't take an event, or it shouldn't have to take an event like Floyd's death for people to realize what is wrong. What you're representing when you have a slave owner, what you're representing is wrong. Like, we have presidents of the United States who were slave owners. They'll never put that in history books that the kids will learn. There's never once did I read a history book where it said, oh yeah, this president was a slave owner. He owned this many slaves. They'll talk to you about Abraham Lincoln. They'll tell you about the Emancipation Proclamation, but that's it. It's so much deeper.
Yeah. Let's move on to another topic. I want you to speak upon that video that came. I know this is kind of jumping back a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I forgot about that.
But that video that came out with the NYPD, making comments about, how they're feeling or how they've been treated, whatnot. Again, I haven't seen the video for myself, but I know Marv has seen it. So
I know some of you guys seen the video now that's out. NYPD, one of the bosses, Mike O'Mara, he comes out with the band of brothers. You know what they all look like, by the way. You know what they all look like. Come on with the band of brothers, and he's upset, Mike. He's upset. He's frustrated how the media has vilified the police, how they've been treated. And I quote, hold on, I gotta make sure I quote this right. Animals, the police have been treated like animals and thugs.
those were his words.
The police have been treated like animals and thugs, and it's not right. What happens day to day with the police is beautiful thing that doesn't get glorified in the news. It's only the bad thing. They don't condemn what happened to Minnesota, but that's not what happens here in New York. And it's BS. And he's sick of it because he doesn't want the police to be treated like animals and thugs. It's crazy how people feel. It's crazy how people feel when they get treated like black people for 1 week, huh? It's crazy how people feel when they get treated like black people for 1 week. And he's out there huffing and puffing, chest out. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm happy to be a cop. I'm happy to be a... Shut the hell up. And that's the issue right there. They can't stand of what the change is happening. People are starting to open their eyes and see what is wrong with the police, what is wrong with the system. And now he wants to come out here and puff his chest out, especially with the NYPD's history. Puff his chest out and say what's happening is not true. It's all propaganda. They're getting treated bad. You know what you signed up for when you became a police officer. You brought it up at one of the last couple shows, saying how in the Black community, being a police officer is kind of looked at. You get look at wrong, because it's no longer a badge of honor to say, yeah, I want to become a police officer. There's a stain to it. And until we are the change and we change how that police system is running, that's how they should be treated. And that's how they should be looked at the moment. Because they are every day, even after George Floyd, they are still killing Black people. They are still getting away of killing Black people. Breonna Taylor's murderers are still out free. We just seen George Floyd, one of his murderers, just got bailed out. He just got bailed out. $750K to kill a Black man is what they just told me. $750K. Thomas Lane, he's eating dinner with his wife right now for killing a Black man. But you want to come out here, puff your chest out, and say, "Oh, we police are treated like thugs and animals." Man, I've been treated like a thug and animal my whole life.
What's up, Stacy? I saw you say hi. Just kind of digesting everything Marv said. The NYPD, name Mike O'Meara came out and said that. Let me see if I could break it down like this on a minor level. Because here's the thing with police officers. Like I said, last whatever show I said it on. To people out there, becoming a police officer and having that badge, it's a bad look. And police officers get looked at with disgust. Well, am I going to sit here, me personally, say I hate every single cop walking the freaking earth? I'm not going. I got family, and I know people who are cops and whatnot. Here's what I'll say. Here's my example. Say you go to a school. The school is one of the worst schools ever. Worst schools ever. You go to that school, you might get great grades. Your grades might be on point. But somebody says, "Hey, what school you go to?" I go to so-and-so high school. Or you go to that school? That school suck. That school the worst. That school, I heard that school bad. You in that school, I don't care what it looked like. You're part of that school, it's going to look bad for you too. NYPD, I don't care what cops come up there, stand up and say, it's great to be a cop. The whole system is screwed. How many times we got to say it on this show, Marv? The whole system is screwed, so it look bad for all of y'all right now. Unfortunately, none of y'all look good right now. Until something changes within that system, until there's some kind of reform where it's not as easy to become a cop, they got to go through, something got to change with the system. Because right now, it's a bad look all around. I'm so sorry to anybody who got family. I got family. It don't matter. It's a bad look all around until this country changes something with the police system, because it's not looking good right now. Point blank, period. NYPD can huff and puff and say, "Oh, we got great cops." It don't matter. You under the same system, and that system is ugly as a mother. Is bad right now.
And just to harp on it, out of all the police departments to ever speak, the NYPD should shut the hell up. They should shut the hell up. We know about NYPD's history. We know about it going way back until 2020. We seen them push the old man. We seen Central Park 5. We know what goes down with the NYPD, man. We know what goes down with them. And Mike said, the system is screwed. And we spoke about this last week, how people said the system was set up like this to be like this. to be put on this? And how insensitive could a man be where people are dying? Black people are dying by the hands of the police, and you want to come out and say, "Oh, but we're good." Yeah, that was bad, but not us. We don't do that.
All of y'all look like it right now. Unfortunately, it's
With
all of y'all.
With no black, he had no black men by his side either. No black men by his side. Band of brothers, chest out, trying to show that, hey, stop trying to make us look like the bad guys. We are not the bad guys in this situation. Oh man, what it's like to have a bad week in the news. Oh no.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about, you know. In a sense, that don't surprise me that NYPD or some other police department came out and was like that. That don't shock me. It don't shock me at all. But I'll continue to say what I've been saying. You know, it's not a good look all around. It's not. It's really not.
So what's going on, everyone who's on the comments right now? This is the Double M show on a Wednesday night, a special night. You know, had a lot to get off on the chest. If you are new here, subscribe. If you like what we're talking about, send a like. If you guys have something you want to talk about quickly before we wrap it up, please put it in the comments right now.
For sure.
Anything that you guys want to finish up on here on the Double M show, we'll take something right now. What do you guys want to hear about or want to touch up on? We spoke on the NFL coming out with Roger Goodell apologizing. We spoke on Thomas Lane, the rookie cop who was part of George Floyd's murder. He came out and he got bail for $750K today on a GoFundMe. You know, we spoke about a lot, man. So anything you guys want to speak on before we wrap this up, that would be awesome.
You know, I will say this: these conversations that we're having, continue to have, are truly great. You know, I think I'm thankful to everybody who keeps coming in tuned in. You know, and those people watching, you know, that don't have a comment, just, you know, take it. And then sometimes, hey, it's good to listen. Good to listen and hear and understand. It's not only, and don't even mean just listen to Marv and I talking. It's people got a lot of stuff to say in the comments as well. You know, people are speaking their minds, sharing their thoughts and feelings similar to what you and I are doing, Marv. This is just a place, an area, a platform where, like I keep saying, we always say it's not only for us to speak, you know, here sitting in front of the camera, but thankfully we have the live chat wide open, whether it be on YouTube, whether we have, you know, IG live going, we have that chat open to hear from y'all all the time. And within that, these same conversations we have about what's taking place right in front of us, in front of us daily. You know, we're going to continue to push these conversations for sure.
Sure, man. Can't wait to get back in the stew. You know, looking like maybe once these phases, phase 3, maybe phase 4, we can start getting jiggy with our videos, with our shows, and, you know, getting some guests in here.
Yeah.
And start doing it up. Everybody, you know, make sure you continue to stay safe. One thing we'll bring up real quick, one thing, you know, that's quite interesting. So we are still in a pandemic.
Yes.
The world's still going on.
For sure.
There's been a lot of protests, not in just Massachusetts, all around America, right? 50 countries protested, all 50 countries. I really want to see what Alaska's protests look like. I really would love to see if anyone got some pictures of that. I need to check that out. But, you know, people in Europe, Africa, the whole world protested during this pandemic, global pandemic. I need to see these COVID-19 numbers. I
am patiently waiting.
I need to see these COVID-19 numbers.
Because I tell you, if numbers come out and say, well, you know, things haven't really gotten too wild and crazy, numbers aren't really spiking.
A couple of days ago, New York finally reported that they had 0 deaths for the first time.
Wow. And New York was one of the hot spots.
Very hot.
Hot spots when it came to COVID-19. So yeah, then the next week or two, we should be hearing either this crazy spikes all across the world, people got to get shut down again, or maybe
Very interesting. These numbers, I said countries, my fault. States, 50 states.
50 states, yes.
So I'm very interested to see these COVID-19 numbers, see if there's a spike or not, because everybody's outside. There's been a lot of people protesting, thousands and thousands of people in one area, not social distancing whatsoever. So it'd be a very interesting take in the next week or two to see what goes on.
Absolutely. Last thing I gotta mention before we go. Dude, Dirk said, I went to a protest and I'm thinking I'm fine. Hope you're fine too, Dirk. Last thing I want to mention before we go. This guy Marv sitting here next to me. You know, great guy. Say it all the time. My man Marv here had an idea with everything going on.
Oh, we gotta put that on the show, bro.
Come on now. I gotta hype you up, bro. My man Marv had an idea of just, you know, putting smiles on people's faces. One thing that's, you know, been lacking for a lot of people, especially a lot of black people lately, is just happiness and smiles, you know, going on. Happiness and smiles on people's faces and their mindset and whatnot. You know, Marv had an idea, you know, safe social distancing scenario of just bringing some people together to just have some fun and laugh, eat, and enjoy. And not only that, but have positive, constructive conversations. And, you know, it brought some people together, brought a lot of laughter, a lot of fun. I definitely still feeling sore from a couple of the, you know, kickball and whatnot, but it was a good environment. And definitely want, you know, Dirk know what's up. You know, shout out to you, Marv, for doing that. Just to, you know, having people in an environment where they can laugh and enjoy people's company and just feel a spirit of kind of like refreshing. Like you can have fun, you can enjoy good weather, the sunshine, be in good company. You know, people been lacking that and missing that, not only because of COVID-19, but then just with everything going on socially, like people been missing that. And, you know, you brought that around for a lot of people that came out. So shout out to you for sure, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. I had a lot of help. Derek was one of the people who helped out tremendously. But just everyone remember, man, you know, something that came out of that event is take time for yourself, take time for your mental health. You know, this is a fight that's going to be a long haul. It's going to be a long haul. Don't feel guilty if you need to step away. Don't feel guilty if you can't make it to every protest or you can't even go to a protest. Like, fight the fight in your own way, in your own, you know, however you feel like you can. Don't feel guilty to have joy either. Don't feel guilty if you are having a good time during what's happening right now. We need all of that to continue this fight that we're happening right now. So, you know, everyone stick with it, man. I appreciate all you guys. You guys all helped, and we did have a great weekend. And that's just more to come, man. More things to come for sure.
Keep doing it. Hey, man, appreciate you, Malcolm. Appreciate you for sure.
I feel you, Malcolm, brother, man. He says he's gonna leave here upset but motivated, and that's what it is right now. We're all gonna be motivated to be better, be greater. And appreciate everyone watching, everyone listening. This is the Double M Show. You know who that is. That's Mr. Mike Nice.
Always.
DJ Mees. We'll see you guys again next week, where we will have plenty of topics to talk with you guys again.